afraid of the dark? Are you scared?
Woo! We live, baby! What's going on, beautiful people? I am the Grandmaster, and I also go by D-Ray, and I am your coach of the San Diego Snugglers, and this is going to be the draft analysis for yet another draft league. This is the GDL, the Galar Defenders League, and this is owned and commissioned by my good buddy Leo 6foot Hacks. Very excited to be invited to this league. It's going to be a really good time. There's a lot of really good competition that is going to be in this season. This is going to be the second season of its awesome history. Season number 2, and they're coming back with a bang, man. It's going to be a good time. There's a lot of really awesome coaches, like I said, and there's also phenomenal graphics done by my good buddy Brody, aka OddsAre. It's looking pretty spicy. I like it a lot. So if you guys are excited to find out what the San Diego Snugglers are going to look like for the GDL, do me a massive favor and shadow claw that thumbs up button. And if you're new, por favor, hit the subscribe button, turn on post notifications, hit the bell button so you guys get notified every single time I post a new video. Now, this is going to be the third Wi-Fi league that we're running at the same time. This is going to be one of the two that is going to be Gen 8 Wi-Fi. Now, all three of them are very unique, right? I believe that this video is going to be going up. This video goes up second. Yeah, this video is going up second of the three. I may even, you know what? No, this is actually going to come up third. Because I will post, yes, okay, this will be third. So I can say it. You guys are watching this video on a Monday, and this is the third of the three. So the differences between the three is that the Galar Defenders League is going to be unique because we are going to allow GIGANTAMAX. I know, GIGANTAMAX is allowed. So it was up to a vote, and I was so graciously convinced by my good buddy Jason, aka Diet Tight, to allow GIGANTAMAX to put my vote for pro. Now the reason for it is because there's a lot of really awesome Pokemon that are involved and that are allowed. So I figured, you know, why not have something broken to help you combat that, right? That's like perfect logic, right? That's perfect logic. It's really not, but you know, it is what it is. I figured it'd be fun. It'd be fun. So the BBR does not allow GIGANTAMAX or Dynamax. And this league does allow GIGANTAMAX, not Dynamax, but GIGANTAMAX. And the third league is going to be the IBA, which is Generation 7 Wi-Fi. So that'll be a good time. That allows Megas, Z moves, things like that. Obviously, it's going to be on the 3DS. So, but this is on the Switch, and we do allow GIGANTAMAX. So there's a GIGANTAMAX captain. This is going to be a standard draft. We have 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 2 tier 3s, 1 tier 4, 1 tier 5, a GIGANTAMAX Pokemon, and then 4 free picks. And I believe it was 400 points to work with, just like any other draft, right? It's standard tiering draft. So if you grab a worse GIGANTAMAX, then you are allowed and given more points to use for your free points. So that's something to keep in mind moving forward. So with all that being said, all that housekeeping stuff out of the way, guys, if you guys see this coaching lineup, woo! Man, we're involved in some really good draft leagues and really good competitors, and I always want to push myself. I always want to get better. Coming into draft league in August has been a wild ride, to say the least, and these draft leagues are going to push me to the absolute limit. Shout out to my front office for all the assistance that you guys helped me out. I love you guys a lot. I'm going to shout you guys out. You guys are goons. All the goons in there, as well as Platinum Howler. We do have Milan, aka GCS. He's a big contributor. But big thanks to Zombie, Mid, Jay, Owen, Ants, aka It's Whatever, Kirby, as well as Ollie comes in every now and then. So I have a really good front office, and I appreciate you guys for helping out, especially with these draft leagues. I'm pretty busy, so I love you guys with the bottom of my heart. Te amo mucho. Alright, well, with all that sappy stuff out of the way, let's get into the draft. So I don't actually remember what the position of the draft was. I think I probably was relatively high. I'm actually going to look at it right now. I don't remember, honestly. We did this draft about a week ago. Let's see. We have draft, season 2 draft, the pin comments. I was, drum roll please, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was the 7th pick. So the fact that this Pokemon lasted to me at 7, the moment I used it in NCP, I fell in love. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I had to do a repeat Pokemon of a very, very recent season. Shout out to John Jr. and the NCP. That's right, guys. Ladies and gents, for our first pick of the 2020 GDL Galar Defenders League draft, the San Diego Snugglers picked up MELMETAL. So MELMETAL is going to be a phenomenal pick. I love me some MELMETAL. I'm actually going to move myself out of the way a little bit. Ooh, I'm actually very, very big. There we go. That works better. Cool. So MELMETAL is going to be an awesome pick. I love MELMETAL. This thing hits like an absolute truck. It's just hard to prep for. Double iron bashes are nothing to scoff at, and you guys will see the trend as I move forward with this draft. But I love the fact that I got MELMETAL back. It's just so much fun to play with, man. It's so much fun. I just had to take it. I'm being a little bit greedy at this point because a lot of other coaches haven't had the opportunity, because a lot of coaches that were in the NCP are going to be in the GDL, but you know, it is what it is. I gotta be a little selfish, you know what I'm saying? So we took MELMETAL first overall. So this is our tier 1 pick, and then when it came back around, I found another Pokemon that I was like, why is this still here? This is an awesome pairing with MELMETAL. Let's get the second part of the Dragon Fairy Steel Core out the way, shall we? With the second pick at the GDL draft, the San Diego Snugglers picked up CLEFABLE. So CLEFABLE is going to be a really good Pokemon to pair up with MELMETAL. Why? Because it offers Teleport and Wish support. Teleport is a negative priority move that was given to CLEFABLE in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Essentially, it's like Baton Pass or U-Turn that doesn't do damage, but it has negative priority. So essentially, it goes last, guaranteed to switch out to bring in whatever the hell that you want. That's important because you always want to bring in MELMETAL with any free opportunity you possibly can, so you can click Double Iron Bash. Bandit or not, that thing hits like a truck. So that's the idea behind that. And CLEFABLE is, even in its own right, is a phenomenal Pokemon. It's really hard to prep for. It gets access to Unaware, which means that no matter how many times you boost up your special attack or whatever stat, then CLEFABLE doesn't care. If it's your defense, CLEFABLE don't care. It'll still attack it as if you didn't boost at all. It's got access to Magic Guard, so it doesn't get any hazard damage. It doesn't get any damage from Toxic, from Will-O-Wisp, from Burns, all that jazz. The only way that you can damage it is by direct attacks, and that includes a Life Orb. So you can put a Life Orb on this thing and then it can hit pretty hard. It doesn't have an overwhelming special attack stat or attack stat, but nonetheless it's still a really good Pokemon and extremely versatile in draft. So I'm really happy that I was able to pick that up. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I've got my daughter in the background. She's on the monitor and she's talking in her sleep. It's pretty late at night tonight. So but yeah, CLEFABLE. So with the third pick, I'm actually going to pull up here so I remember what it is that I drafted. With the third pick, let's see. Perfect. Okay. So it came back around. So mind you, I'm at 7. So I'm more towards the middle of the draft. There are 16 coaches. So it's actually pretty much at the middle. So at this point, it goes MELMETAL, goes to the end, and it wheels back. I get CLEFABLE, and then it wheels back, and then I get this pick. Now, I wanted to be able to get a good defensive core in order for me to get MELMETAL in as often as I possibly can. So I wanted to get another teleporter, and also want to get a Trick Room setter because MELMETAL does phenomenal under Trick Room. For those who don't know, Double Iron Bash has a really high chance to flinch your opponent. So being able to be faster than them, to flinch them down to death with Double Iron Bash would be phenomenal. So with the next pick, third pick of the GDL draft, the San Diego Snugglers decided to pick up SLOWKING. So SLOWKING is going to be a really good Pokemon to be able to pair up with CLEFABLE defensively, right? And it's also able to pair up with MELMETAL defensively, right? MELMETAL doesn't like taking any fighting type attacks. SLOWKING doesn't really care too much about him. MELMETAL doesn't like to take any fire type moves. SLOWKING doesn't really care too much about him. SLOWKING is a little bit more on the Spadef side versus Slowbro. That's the only real difference. Slowbro is a little bit more physically defensive, and then SLOWKING is a little more specially defensive. That's the main difference between the two. There's a couple coverage differences, like one gets 1 or 2 moves than the other, but nonetheless, this thing gets teleport, so I can bring it in, teleport out, kind of the same as CLEFABLE, and I can also set up Trick Room. So that's the main idea behind SLOWKING, is to come in, set up Trick Room, and then get out, let MELMETAL come in, and then wreak havoc. But it still does great stuff on its own. Obviously, it gets access to Scald because it's a water type. It gets access to Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, things of that nature. This thing can be pretty menacing. It's going to be a big threat. SLOWKING is a phenomenal pick. I think in this draft it was tier 2, so it fit pretty well at tier 2. So I thought it was a good pick. Now, I totally messed up where I was here on my picks, so I'm gonna go backwards. I actually tell you guys the right thing that I picked at the right time. Okay. So with this next pick, I was thinking, okay, so I have my fairy and I have my steel, my MELMETAL, right? So I want to finish the fantasy core. So the fantasy core is really important to me because it with resistances, right? So you can keep switching in and out. And I want to get a better utility monitor. Right now I'm pretty slow. I'm very, very slow. I don't think I pass base like 40 speed. I think Clefable's pretty fast at 60 or something like that, but nonetheless, it's really, really slow. With 3 of my 6 Pokemon that I'll probably bring every single week, I need to get some speed. So to finish out my core and the 4th pick of the GDL draft, the San Diego Snugglers decided to pick up NOIVERN. So NOIVERN is going to be really good pairing with MELMETAL and with CLEFABLE because it's a fast dragon type, good resistances, gets access to Super Fang, Draco, Meteor, gets access to Dragon Pulse, Flamethrower, very good support Pokemon. But this Pokemon is phenomenal because it has the ability Frisk, and that is so valuable in draft. You guys have no idea. For those who don't know, Frisk is an ability whenever NOIVERN comes in, and I basically get to know what its item is for free. If my opponent is running Choice Band and is trying to hide it, I bring in NOIVERN and it tells me what the item is. So it's really, really good to be able to scout out what my opponent has. And it can come in clutch in a lot of really good situations, being able to find out a game plan for the game moving forward. Now, NOIVERN's coverage is really, really great, but it isn't really all that bulky. It's got pretty frail defenses and it's not that strong, especially offensive-wise. But the speed is really, really what we need here. Base 123 speed is going to be phenomenal, even though, well, more so because Generation 8, everything's pretty much slower. Although the DLC did give us some fast threats coming back, but NOIVERN still is in a good speed tier. So there's a big old gap there, so we want to be able to close that gap in the meantime. But I believe that NOIVERN may have been the fastest thing that I've drafted. So NOIVERN is going to come a lot. I love NOIVERN. It can fill so many different roles: supportive, offensive, defensive, all that fun jazz. So I'm very happy to have NOIVERN on the team. So with the next pick of the 2020 BBR draft, the San Diego Snugglers decided to pick up KROOKODILF. Now, KROOKODILF is a phenomenal pick for this draft. Why? Because it's a dark type. A dark type and a ground type all mixed in together. Why is that important? You always want to pick a dark type to not get swept by any boosting psychic types. That's just not fun. But KROOKODILF is going to fill a couple different roles for the team. Not only is it going to be a deterrent to psychic types to do that, but stab knockoffs on this thing hits like an absolute truck. This thing actually hits pretty hard. It's got a base 92 speed, so it's not all that fast, but it's a nice enough speed tier to be able to outspeed base 85s. Excadrill is very notable. It's a base 88, so it's faster than Excadrill, faster than base 90s, like Orbeetle. That's one to keep in mind. So KROOKODILF outspeeds everything that it needs to, in my opinion. So like I said, access to knockoff, access to it actually got close combat this gen, which is phenomenal. Now it gets close combat, has access to Earthquake, obviously gets access to Stone Edge. It's a stealth rocker, a really good stealth rocker, and its abilities are phenomenal. It gets 3 of them. It's Intimidate, Moxie, and Anger Point. Anger Point is whenever you get crit, you get +6 in attack, which is crit. I think it's +12, +6 or 12, +6. We'll say +6 because I think the definition says 12, but it's 6. So it's the fastest. It's the highest you can go. Anger Point, I probably won't run that often because you have to get crit in order to be activated, and you don't want that to happen. But Intimidate and Moxie, phenomenal abilities. Moxie is great to run with Choice Scarf to just snowball, kind of like a beast boost effect in a way. And then Intimidate is great utility to be able to come in and neuter whatever offensive threat my opponent has in the field. So phenomenal abilities, great utility Pokemon, gets access to really good offensive moves. With access to close combat, it's actually pretty good because sometimes sometimes you want to get rid of mons that they plan for ground coverage, right? So close combat is a cool little niche thing that they gave it, and it also deals with other dark type Pokemon, which is really, really nice. So KROOKODILF, phenomenal fit on this team. Now I have my ground type and I have a stealth rocker, because up to this point my only stealth rocker was CLEFABLE. So now I have CLEFABLE and I have KROOKODILF, so I have 2 options to be able to do out of 5 Pokemon, which is actually pretty good in my opinion. I don't have any other hazards. I don't have spikes, I don't have toxic spikes, so I do want to fix that moving on later in the draft. So with this next pick, I wanted to close that gap between the NOIVERN speed tier of 123 and then the next fastest, which was KROOKODILF at 92. So I do also need a grass type to be able to help pair with Slowbro, to be able to switch it in on other grass type moves or water type moves or what have you. So with the next pick, I picked a little bit more speed and I got one of the Swords of Justice, the San Diego Snugglers pickup VIRIZION. So VIRIZION is a pretty neat Pokemon. Now mind you, the VIRIZION doesn't really have the power to call itself a physical attacker nor a special attacker. It's weird for me to say that, but base 90 is kind of underwhelming for a fighting type. It's okay for a grass type because it's pretty defensive on the SPDF side, but typically grass types you want to be able to have as a ground type check, and its defense I believe is base like 80 or 90. It's really not that good. I mean, I can come in on earth powers all day, but nonetheless it's not very good defensively. On the physically defensive side, especially defensive, is phenomenal. but nonetheless, it closes the speed gap at base 108 speed, gets access to close combat. It doesn't get Aura Sphere, which would have made it so much better. It's Focus Blast, gets access to Sacred Sword, gets access to Leaf Blade, Giga Drain, Synthesis. It gets access to Stone Age, Swords Dance, things of that nature. Calm Mind is actually pretty nice with VIRIZION, but the idea here was just to close the gap and to get a ground resist that wasn't an immunity with NOIVERN. So at this point, I mean, I'm not very happy about the fact that my ground type check is not very physically defensive, but you know, it worked at the time. So we have VIRIZION, so we'll see what we could do with this. We'll see what we could do. I've drafted it before, but I thought I'd give it another chance, just to give it one last little go and see if we can make VIRIZION work. So wish us luck. With this next pick, we wanted to get another Trick Room setter because right now the burden is only on SLOWKING, and the way that this team is kind of rolling around is that I'm very slow aside from KROOKODILF, NOIVERN, and VIRIZION. So I want to get another Trick Room setter so that way I don't have to have that stuck onto SLOWKING. And I'm also wanted to get a fighting type immunity because even though I have switch-ins like SLOWKING and CLEFABLE, I don't always want to just switch in nitty gritty on any fighting type move. So to have an immunity would actually be pretty nice. So the next pick of the GDL draft, the San Diego Snugglers pick up COFAGRIGUS. So COFAGRIGUS is going to be pretty cool build to set up Trick Room. Trick Room is going to be pretty good. So I have 2 Trick Room setters, and I also have access to Toxic Spikes, and that's it. So actually, Runerigus is the one that gets Spikes and Stealth Rock. But this one gets Toxic Spikes, which is really nice. So now we have our second set of hazards. It's very fat based 145 defense, so it's going to be really annoying for people to for coaches to try to break through my defensive walls, right? So we have CLEFABLE, SLOWKING, and now COFAGRIGUS. It's Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Shadow Ball, Hex, Shenanigans, but mostly it's there to set Trick Room, and it also has access to Memento. So Memento is a move to be able to just basically kamikaze die and decrease the special attack and the attack of the opponent that's actually on the field. Kind of like a parting shot, but of death. So COFAGRIGUS is going to be pretty good in that regard to set up Trick Room and die, and let MELMETAL take over whatever else that's left over, which could be pretty good. So yeah, in that regard, it just fills that specific role, which could be pretty clutch in some situations. So it's COFAGRIGUS. With the next pick, I totally messed up my screen on this side. Okay, so for this next pick, I go after my GMAX, and the reason why I do is because, a little bit of context, a lot of the coaches kind of solidified like a gentleman's kind of thing with the other coaches to say that, hey, I'm taking this GMAX, what are you taking? Everybody kind of knew, but the thing is, I didn't really know. I was kind of contemplating GMAX Appleton. I was contemplating GMAX Alcremie, although I did know that my buddy Owen wanted it, so that's the main reason why I didn't take it here, because I did want to get a second fairy type. That would have been pretty clutch. Also, the GMAX, I don't think I talked about this earlier. GMAXs, the way that we're neutering them is that they have to hold a non-competitive item, aka a Pokeball. Doesn't matter what kind of Pokeball. It could be a Master Ball, Luxury Ball, Dive Ball, Lure Ball, whatever it is you want, just whatever. But it can't hold any item. It has to hold a Pokeball. The reason why we do a Pokeball versus no item is because we still want to have our opponents have the opportunity to get full damage on knockoff. So that's the main reason why we did that. So a lot of the GMAXs kind of lose their viability when they don't have access to an item. A good example is GMAX Charizard, in my opinion. It can't have access to Boots or to Charterberry. You can kind of debate whether my Gigantamax kind of gets neutered in a way because they can't hold an item. But it's so fat. It's so fat. I love the Pokemon as a Pokemon. As a Gigantamax mon, it could be pretty good just because of the coverage. So our Gigantamax captain for the GDL is going to be Snorlax. So Snorlax, the reason why I say it was neutered because of the item is because its G-Max move is called G-Max Replenish. What G-Max Replenish does, it's a normal type move that gives you a 50% chance to regain whatever berry that you're holding, no matter what berry it is. If you've used it, you have a 50% chance to get that berry back. So because we hold the Pokeball, or in Snorlax's case a Master Ball, because Grandmaster D-Ray, duh, I can't have a berry, so therefore it's just a regular normal type G-Max move. Even then it's worse because the G-Max normal move decreases speed of the opponent, so it's a neutered version of a normal type G-Max move. But the one benefit that Snorlax has is that it has an enormous HP stat. And when it's Gigantamaxed up, it doubles. It's got base 160, I think, HP. So it maxes out at like 524 or something outrageous like that. And then if I'm at full health and I Gigantamax, that's over 1000 HP for 3 freaking turns. My opponent cannot break that. And with the coverage that it gets access to Heat Crash, gets access to Heavy Slam, gets access to Seed Bomb, Thunder, all the elemental punches, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, I believe Ice Punch as well. Gets access to Curse to set up if I want to do that. Body Slam Facade would be great, so that way they can't status it. And the abilities, I don't have to be running Gluttony. I can also run Thick Fat to get the resistance of Ice and Fire if I really wanted to, or if I want to run Immunity. That way I don't get Toxic, which could be pretty good in some situations. So Snorlax has a niche role as a Gigantamax mon, even without being able to hold the berry, because of its Gigantamax moves. So that's why I want to take Snorlax. The coverage is phenomenal, and it just shuts down a lot of really good, especially offensive Pokemon, especially dark types. Like Dragapult is the first Pokemon that comes to mind. Like, this thing can do nothing to Dragapult, honestly. So yeah, Snorlax. I'm very excited to have Snorlax. It's gonna be a good time. I'm already thinking a bunch of different scenarios I could run Snorlax. It's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and the fact that I gave it this much love by getting a Z move and now a Gigantamax move, oof. Just needed a mega. So with the next pick, I had to pick up a tier 5, I believe is where I was at this point of the draft. Now, mind you, the Snorlax did give me plus 40 points, which is a huge relief because I have 2 tier 1 Pokemon, which is MELMETAL and CLEFABLE. So getting an extra 40 points was really, really good. It really saved me a lot, so I don't have to take 3 tier 5s, I can take just 2, which is so good. 3 tier 5s, you can barely find any value in tier 5 in my opinion, so getting the plus 40 was phenomenal. So I had to get 1 tier 5 required, so I filled that tier 5 spot now. When I saw this Pokemon in tier 5, I was thinking, I don't think this Pokemon deserves to be in tier 5. Now with the toys that they gave it, the one main toy is agility. Agility on this Pokemon makes it so much better, so I wanted to give it a chance because it just looks so much fun to me. So with the next pick of the GDL draft, the San Diego Snugglers picked up, boom, LUXRAY. Now LUXRAY, like I said, is an awesome physically offensive electric type. It's not a fast one. Base 70 speed is not very fast at all. But with access to agility now, which is a huge buff to it, now all of a sudden it's really, really fast, and it gets access to Guts and Intimidate. So Guts, and this is the third ability. I just don't remember what the ability is at the top of my head. It is Rivalry, which doesn't really, you never run Rivalry ever. It's basically when you get boosted. So it says deals more damage to a Pokemon of the same gender. So I have to have the same gender in order to get more damage off. Well, actually, you know what? That kind of could be pretty clutch in some situations. So I don't think I'll ever run Rivalry LUXRAY. I don't got the cojones to do that. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just don't think that it's as viable as in Guts or Intimidate. To be able to hold the Flame Orb and be a status absorber. That's one of the reasons why I did it too, right? We needed a status absorber, so we can switch into Scalds, we can switch into Will-O-Wisps, we can switch into Scorching. We don't want to switch into Scorching Sand. That's a bad idea because that's a ground type move. But you get the idea. We can switch in on 2 status type moves, and it's actually a benefit to us because it's going to boost our attack, double it essentially. So holding a Flame Orb could be pretty nice, and then agilitying up, and all of a sudden you have a plus 2 speed, base 120 attack LUXRAY boosted with Guts. I don't want to take that. Gets access to Thunder Fang, Wild Charge on the physically offensive side, and even then the special attack is 95, and that's pretty doable. In my opinion, you can run a dual offensive Pokemon if it's base 80, and this is 95, so it's still pretty good. It gets access to Volt Switch for momentum. Just to give you kind of an idea, I actually have it pulled up, so I might as well just tell you guys about it. Thunder Fang, Fire Fang, Ice Fang, so all the elemental fangs. Gets access to Wild Charge, like I just said. Facade is phenomenal for Guts type Pokemon because it gets that base 140 normal attack move whenever it's poisoned or statused at all. Gets access to Quick Attack for priority. That's actually pretty good in some situations, which could be something that we could use. Gets access to Crunch. Gets access to Play Rough, I believe also. They gave it Play Rough. Gets Psychic Fang, Superpower, Play Rough. It did get Play Rough, but the agility buff is going to be huge for this Pokemon in my opinion, so I think it's going to be really fun to try. And I thought this is pretty good value at tier 5, so I do have to get another tier 5, again because I have 2 tier 1 Pokemon. but getting Snorlax allows me to just get 2 instead of 3. So this is one of the 5. I'm really happy with LUXRAY. I feel like it'll be a good time. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So with the next pick of the draft, let me pull up my list here so that way I know what's going on. The next pick of the draft, I have to pick up another one of my free points that isn't a tier 5. And I need to get some value here, right? We have a Fairy Dragon Steel core, and I wanted a Fire, Water, and Grass core because I love to do a lot of switching. And if you notice, I also have a Psychic, Dark, and Fighting core. Yes, and VIRIZION, KROOKODILF, and SLOWKING. And that's another core of the 3. It doesn't have a name. There's Fantasy Elemental, and I don't know what that one's called. But they cover each other's weaknesses, so that way there's more resistances for them to come in defensively to be able to put more offensive pressure. Is the idea why you want those cores, because you can switch in on a bunch of different resistances. So for example, like Slowking's weak to dark types, right? But VIRIZION resists dark types. So if anything, it gets a boost from it because it's justified. But nonetheless, you can, if your opponent is a dark type and wants to use the dark type move on Slowking, you can switch out into VIRIZION and eat that hit. KROOKODILF is weak to fairy types. KROOKODILF is weak to fighting types. That's the example I want to use. And then, so KROOKODILF doesn't want to take a fighting type move. I can switch in Slowking, and Slowking can eat that hit because it's resisted. That's why you want to have those cores, because of the resistance of your Pokemon. Even if they're not defensive, they could be offensive and still switch in on some resisted moves. So that's the idea behind that, for those who didn't know. So the next pick that I have, I wanted to get my fire type, and I also wanted to get some utility because, again, I don't have very many rock options, and I also don't have very removal options. The only removal that I have right now is NOIVERN. All I got is NOIVERN, guys. That's so bad. So with the next pick of the GDL draft, the San Diego Snugglers pick up COALOSSAL. So COALOSSAL, really good with heavy duty boots. It is very weak to rocks without it, but it's better than Carcola in that way, so I can hold on to the boots. The little boots with the fur, The whole club is looking at her. You can hold boots, not take any hazard damage. Gets access to Spikes, Stealth Rock, and gets access to Rapid Spin. So it's a good hazard utility mon, and it got a really big buff in my opinion. This is probably the best recipient of Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is a special rock type move that takes 1 turn to boost, but it isn't a wasted turn because you do get a +1 special attack, a +1 to your special attack while you wait for the next turn for Meteor Beam to come off. So yeah, your opponent can switch in on it, but you get that +1 special attack boost. So you can switch up moves after that and still have that buff, which is phenomenal in my opinion. Gets access to Steam Engine. Now that doesn't have to just be water types. It could be fire types too. It has access to Flash Fire and Steam Engine. So if I can switch in on a fire type move, I'll get my +6 speed. You ever been swept by Coalossal? I don't know. In some matches it may happen. So I can switch in on the fire type, get my +6 speed, and then woo! Fast Coalossal. But the utility of the hazards is the main reason why I wanted it, even though it does hit hard with Meteor Beam, as well as Fire Blast Flamethrower. It's a very good defensive Pokemon. I can run max defense or max special defense, and it is an amazing, phenomenal. The best role that it fills is a fairy check. It's a phenomenal fairy check because Melmetal doesn't always want to come in. Melmetal is an offensive steel type, so I can use Coalossal to switch in on fairy types, which would be phenomenal because there's a big resistance for that. So that's going to be phenomenal for the team. Another slow Pokemon, but you know, we can make it work with Trick Room. We have 2 Trick Room setters. That's the main idea behind this team, is a Trick Room team. Now the very last pick, it has to be my second tier 5. I was looking through it, I was like, I don't really see much value here. I don't know what else I really want to take. So I thought, okay, do I double up on a type that you don't really double up on? I think I have to, because I do need a grounded poison, very important, because we don't want to have one of our teammates get poisoned just on entry. That would suck. A little bit of context, I actually drafted Ice-Q here. The Ice Penguin. Now, my front office saw my team and they said, get that thing off your goddamn team. And I said, okay. Whoa, everybody, relax, chill. Husa. The Penguin doesn't have to stay. We have 24 hours to remove any transactions that won't count towards this season. So I got rid of Ice-Q and I picked up Roselia. Now I picked up Roselia because of the recommendation of my front office. Shout out to who said that they hated Ice-Q. Everybody said they hated Ice-Q. I think Ice-Q has a good niche in some matchups. I'm not saying it's a lot of matchups. I'm saying it's in some matchups. So it's got some prowess. But Roselia makes sense because it's a grounded poison type, which means that it basically is not ground and poison. It's a poison type that is touching the ground that can absorb toxic spikes on entry, which is really valuable for a team. It gets access to spikes and toxic spikes. So I got 2 toxic spike setters. I got some more spikes on my team. Very bulky with Eviolite, and also could be very offensive. It's got a base 100 special attack stat, I think is what it is. So it's not really nothing to scoff at. Roselia was a solo Pokemon until Roserade came around, like the next generation. So Roselia is a really good Eviolite user because it gets access to Synthesis as well. So it's got reliable recovery, if you can call it that, within the weather. But Roselia could be pretty good. I'm very excited to use it. I think that's going to be kind of a niche pick. And it's going to be good to deter, because it does get access to Natural Cure. So it is another status absorber, most for Scald. It's a good Scald switch in. So I can switch in, resisted hit, and then get burnt, switch out, and then the burn goes away, which could be pretty good. That's Roselia. So this is going to be the team. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think what the kill leader is going to be for my team, even though we know it's going to be MELMETAL. But honestly, I'll give you guys my honest opinion. There's 2 very big weaknesses to this team. Very big. This is not the best team I've ever drafted. I really wanted to come into this thing supporting MELMETAL a little bit better, but there were so many snipes this draft. It was so bad. I knew I wanted Trick Room on the team, but I ended up committing way too much to Trick Room. I'm looking at it, and I'm not 100% comfortable with it, to be honest with you. But I'm not comfortable with making changes within the free transaction period, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna have to take a hit to make a change. I know which Pokemon I'm gonna take if it happens, because they're still on the board. But nonetheless, I'm gonna try to roll with it and see how it goes. There's 1, 2. You could debate on 3 really big weaknesses. I'm not gonna say them out loud because I know my opponents are gonna watch this video. I'm watching y'all. So yeah, I think we'll roll like probably till week 1 and see if it gets exploited. And if it does, then I'll make changes after week 1, guaranteed. So a good player will find it, but I see three really big problems with this team. So because of those 3, I wouldn't see myself in like the top best teams in the league. It can be this potential here, but we're probably gonna make some moves. To be honest with you, we're probably gonna make some moves. But this is the team moving forward. Again, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do not tell me what the problems are. I know what the problems are. They're well aware. We'll see if I make those changes to pull that trigger. But we'll see. We'll roll with this until somebody figures it out. And we'll go from there. So guys, let me know what you guys think about the team. Thank you so much for watching this video. To support me, please do me a massive favor. Por favor, make sure you leave a like on the video. It really does help me out a lot. Let's fight the YouTube algorithm. Again, leave a comment down below. Please. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. And then let's say good luck, have fun to every single one of my opponents. And then let's hope for we get in the playoffs and then make a big run in the GDL. So let's go ahead and do that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna get the heck up out of here. Have a great rest of your night, and above all else, be nice. Peace.